Alright people, so today what I'm going to be showing you how to do is replace this motor mount on a 2006 Honda Civic EX. These motor mounts are known to fail. You can see this one, it's got a bit of fluid coming out of it, it's got a crack in it. And the symptoms of this, it started when you put the car in reverse. You would hear a vibrating noise when the car was in reverse. And then also when you're sitting at stoplights, this is an automatic transmission, so you've got the torque converter still converting a little bit of power from the motor through the transmission, and the vibration of the motor, you could hear it vibrating while it was at a stop. And eventually I diagnosed it as being a bad motor mount, so today we're going to replace that. The first thing you want to do before you start unbolting the motor mount is take a jack with a block of wood underneath it, or between the contact point, and put it underneath the oil pan and just give it a couple of pumps just to kind of support the weight of the engine, because obviously this normally supports the weight of the engine, and you've got to have something to hold the weight up and everything once you start to unbolt this, because you don't want this to be all under tension and stuff like that, and you definitely don't want the motor to fall down once you've taken the bolts out. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is get that in place. And then the next thing I'm going to do is remove these two bolts here and this bolt back here to get this piece out of the way, so I have a little bit more clearance to work on this part. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, then show you what I've got. So once you've got that one piece out of the way, this is what you're looking at. You see I removed it, that whole big beam that was here. That's it. It's out of the way. Now I can remove this bolt here and these two bolts to get this piece out of the way. I'm also going to have to disconnect this grounding cable here. What else? Oh, it looks like these two bolts over here are going to have to come out. And that bolt back there, it's holding this piece in the way. Might want to get that out of there as well. You see how this is all one piece, kind of hard to see. This big piece here. So I'm going to unbolt these two bolts here and the other bolt right down there that's holding that in. That way I can kind of maneuver that around and be able to get the motor mount out. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this piece, get that out of the way. By the way, what I'm using to loosen all these bolts, because they're kind of big bolts and they're in there pretty good, is a nice long breaker bar. Makes everything a whole lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, show you what I've got when I'm done. So this is what it looks like after removing that little triangle piece out of the way. And as you can see, that thing's looking pretty nasty, that old motor mount. So I'm glad I'm changing this. I've not removed the bolts for this piece yet. I'm going to do that now. Then remove that bolt right there. That bolt right down there hiding behind that hose. And the motor mount should just come right out after that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, show you the progress. By the way, once I went to go take that little triangle piece out of there, the whole motor, you can see, is wobbling around. So that's good that I had it supported with the jack, because if not, it would have fallen right down. You definitely don't want that. That is a key piece to making sure that you do this job correctly, is making sure that you have this motor supported before you go trying to unbolt that mount. And when I went to take the bolts off that were here, especially this one, just be aware that those things are on there. So you're definitely going to need a nice big breaker bar to get that off. With the breaker bar that I had, the one that was this long, I had to put a little muscle into it to get it off. It came off, but if you just had a normal, just a normal size ratchet, say something like this, or if you were trying to use an opened end wrench or a box wrench, forget about it, man. You would have killed yourself trying to get that off. So just a heads up on that. So I removed the two bolts from here and decided to just loosen the one that's back here, because I was like, you know what, it's going to be a real pain in the butt to try to get that screw back up in there, if I actually take it all the way out. But as you can see, there's actually quite a bit of play in this, so I am going to attempt to remove the motor mount without taking that piece out. I'm just going to try to finagle it around and get it out of there while leaving that piece in. And I think I'm going to be able to do it, but I'll let you guys know in just a moment how that works out for me. I did want to show you guys this though. Obviously, these two pieces are supposed to be one piece, and as you can see, they're not anymore. And it looks like there's a fluid in there. I heard that this is a hydraulic motor mount, and as you can see, most of the fluid has come out as well. So this thing was definitely ready to come out. This car is a 2006, and it has about 115,000 miles on it. And from what I understand, that means it's lasted a lot longer than most of them do. Because most of them, I've heard them, reading on the forums, I've heard they fail anywhere between 10,000 and usually no later than 70,000 miles. So we got our use out of this one. But we got a brand new one going in. So yeah, I'm going to pull that bad boy out of there, put the new one in. So despite my best efforts, I was unable to get the motor mount out with this piece still attached with that little bolt back there in place. So I actually had to remove it, unfortunately. But after removing it, the motor mount came right out. So what I'm going to do now is take the new one, put it in, and essentially just, you know, I hate to say it, but installation is reverse of removal. Basically just take out all the bolts that you, or put back in all the bolts that you took out to take it out, make sure everything's snug back up, let the jack down, you should be good to go. If I run into any tricks while I'm doing that, I'll be sure to document that so that you guys can have an easier time doing this. Okay? So remember how I said if I ran into any issues, I would be sure to document that so you guys could have an easier time than I did with this? Well, here's the first step. When going to put those lower bolts back into the body of the car here, I've found the easiest way to do it is to put the back one in there first. And what I did was I slid the motor mount forward a little bit, dropped the bolt down into the hole, slid it back to where it needed to go until it dropped into place where it needed to be, and then got it started with my fingers because you really can't get the wrench down in there at the proper angle to get the bolt started correctly. Once you've got it threaded in a little bit of ways with your fingers first, come back with the wrench, snug it down, and then put this bolt in because this one's a lot easier to get to and everything than that one back there is. So yeah, there's my first tip. Alright, so then the next little bit of advice I have for you guys is do not tighten the two bolts for the motor mount or that little bolt that's holding this bracket in place until after you put the bolts in those two holes. Otherwise, you're not going to get it to line up quite properly, and that's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. So get those two bolts in there first, get them started, and then you can tighten down everything. Okay, so the next little trick is going to be when you go to put this aluminum triangle back into place. What I've done is set it on top, started this bolt through there, and I haven't put either of these two bolts in there yet. And then what I did was I gave the jack here a couple of pumps to raise the motor up a little bit so it's easier to maneuver this thing around. Because the little trick is this thing's got a little pin that sticks up on it, and there's a little recessed area on the bottom of that triangle that pin has to go into. So all that stuff has to be aligned before you tighten everything down. The best advice I can give you is try to get down really low. Anyways, like I was saying, try to get down really low and look at underneath that triangle there. I can't really get the camera down there too much, but as you can see, that's pretty flush. I think that's where it needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and tighten down the little bolt that holds this in first, and then worry about snugging all this down. After that, it's just a matter of putting that little beam that comes this way back, and you're golden. Make sure you don't forget to strap your grounding cable back down either. So once this is all back in, I'll go ahead and show you guys what it looks like, but that's pretty much it. And there you have it all bolted back in, fresh new motor mount, ready to rock and roll for another 115,000 miles. I want to say this took me about 45 minutes to an hour. I don't have my watch out here with me, but I went in and checked when I got it out, and it only taken me about, I don't know, half an hour. And that's while making a YouTube video as well. So I wouldn't anticipate this taking you more than about an hour, hour and a half, depending on your mechanical abilities. And this actually happened just in time because it's now starting to rain. But I'm done, so that's okay. Good luck, and I hope this video helps you guys out.